Good morning, everyone. Once upon a time, traditional audiophiles were modern audiophiles. Back in 1973, when my father, Gilad Tiefenbrun, invented the LP12 turntable, he showed that by retrieving more information from the groove of a record, that a hi-fi system could sound better. At the time, of course, there were many people who thought that the loudspeaker was all that mattered in a hi-fi. And so those who bought into this new paradigm of audio reproduction were the modern audiophiles of their day. Now, Ivor also recognized that because there was more information in the groove of the record than could be recovered, improvements in technology, innovation, would allow for more and more information to be extracted, and so that over time, a hi-fi system could continue to be improved. So he made his turntable modular and upgradable. And this created a huge enthusiasm among these new modern audiophiles. And thanks to the demonstrations that you made to people, they understood something very important. They understood that the more you paid for a hi-fi system, or the more you paid for the turntable, the better the sound. There was a connection between price and performance. Now, not everybody could afford the LP12, or maybe not on the day that you made your first demonstration to them, but they understood fundamentally that they were investing in something that would make more information at the very front of the system, at the source. And it was a wonderful time for them, because every time they upgraded their LP12, they could listen to their whole record collection again and hear more music. Not just that, they could confidently invest into other parts of the hi-fi chain, preamplifiers, power amplifiers, and loudspeakers, knowing that with more information at the source, these investments would reveal more of this information. It was a wonderful time for hi-fi. So, where did it start to go wrong for these modern audiophiles? When did they become traditional audiophiles? What happened? Compact disc. The CD format invented by Sony and Philips in 1979 used the best technology of the day to create a 16-bit digital format. Now, although it didn't have the same scope as vinyl, and although these audiophiles understood that, the marketing of the time claimed pure, perfect sound forever. And actually, it said pretty much that one CD player would sound the same as another, because, hey, it's digital, and digital's perfect. And these audiophiles who said, no, this isn't true, they started to be regarded as kind of strange or traditional. And so a gap opened up between the modern thinking of the day, which was digital and compact disc, and the traditional, now becoming traditional vinyl audiophiles. So when they told us that you could get a CD player for $100, and it was going to sound pretty much as good as a CD player that you could get for $1,000, what they were saying was, you know, $100 is good enough. That's all you need. And it's the first time we hear these words, good enough, enter into the world of hi-fi. And of course, they're still with us today, because these modern audiophiles moved on to MP3, minidisc, and solid state. Now, the propaganda was saying you can't even hear the difference between MP3 and CD. And if you say otherwise, you're a little strange. You're even more strange. And so the gap now between the traditional audiophile thinking and modern audiophile thinking is getting even wider, with the modernists focused on convenience first and portability and not quality. So when the Climax DS came along in 2007, it did a number of very important things. Firstly, it planted a flag for performance in the digital age, in the emerging market for streamed digital music. We got in early. We said, here, performance really does matter and really does make a big difference in digital streaming. And because we had 24-bit, it really helped us. It gave us an edge. 24-bit let the traditional audiophiles who were not happy with CD think, aha, now maybe there is something that is worth listening to in digital. We also made the Climax DS in a hi-fi package. It looked like Lin's other hi-fi source components. It looked like a Climax product. And what that did was it gave a bridge to these traditional audiophiles, to bridge from their LP12 or vinyl-based systems, to bridge right across and skip out CD and move right into digital streaming. And probably most importantly, it reintroduced upgradability into digital, where CD players, SACD players, and DVD players had none. So what we have with the Climax DS is establishing the same price performance understanding that existed with the LP12. The same value proposition as the LP12. The Climax DS takes us back to the very beginning, back to 1973. The same principles. It's why my father, Ivor, calls the DS the digital LP12. So I'm going to draw a picture for you on the board showing what's happened since we introduced the Climax DS. And I'm going to ask for your help in making this picture. Right in the middle, I'm going to start with a circle for the Climax DS. And the Climax DS, as I've explained, was targeted at the traditional audiophiles. The traditional audiophiles of the day. Can anyone remember what could the Climax DS do when we launched it? What did it play? Only FLAC and wave. Even though people told us at the time, you cannot sell a digital streamer that doesn't play MP3, because we understood we were selling it to our traditional audiophiles and that it was performance that they were seeking, we understood that it was not necessary to support MP3. And instead, it was most important to support the highest quality formats that could play 24-bit. Does anyone remember how you could control and choose the music of a Climax DS? You couldn't, is one answer. Anyone remember what the software was called? Yes. So the control was the Lin GUI. Okay. Now I'm drawing a bigger circle around this because I'm now going to show how we expanded the addressable market for traditional audiophiles with DS. So what did we do next? What were the next products that came out? Accurate DS. What else? Sneaky, and then Magic. And so by introducing more DS players at different price points, we were able to serve even more traditional audiophiles with the DS. So I can make a bigger traditional audiophile. Now, of course, we did add MP3, and that crucially gave us which feature did, by supporting MP3, what could we add at that stage? Do you remember? Radio, yeah. And on the control side, we introduced what we now know as Kinski. Kinski ran on the PC and the PDA. About 1 month before we were ready to launch Kinski on the PDA, a certain product called the iPod Touch came out, which just goes to show you can't get every decision right. Okay, next circle. How do we grow the market even further? What was the next major product in the DS line? Magic DSi and Secret DSi. Okay, so I'll stop for a second here because something really interesting happened. We had a fight internally at Lin when the Magic DSi was coming out, where some people said we should stop the Magic DS and the Magic Eye, because who would buy a Magic DS and a Magic Eye for more money than you could buy a Magic DSi that does all the same things? And the answer to that was, of course, traditional audiophiles would buy Magic DS and Magic Eye. And in fact, thankfully, we did not stop the Magic DS because it continued to sell just the same, and the Magic DSi started to sell as well. And that's when we started to understand that we were getting some new customers. And they came to our events. They were typically younger, internet savvy. Many of them had already been streaming at home for 2 or 3 years, perhaps using a cheap product like a Squeezebox or a Roku. And they would come to the demonstrations, and you saw them, we all saw them. They'd sit there, really doubtful, cynical, because they heard that this product that's 4,000 euros, like, is it really going to sound any better? I mean, it's digital after all, and digital's all the same. At least that's what we've been told, right? But through the demonstration, they would change, and their body language would change. And they would come up at the end, and they would say, you know, I would never believe that 4,000 euros for a streamer would make any difference. But this is amazing. And they bought the product, and they've become new customers. And so we started to call these people modern audiophiles. So in this circle now, we continue to sell to the traditional audiophile, but we add some new modern audiophile customers. So I'm writing traditional audiophile as TA and modern audiophile as MA on there. We get our first new generation customers. But they have some interesting requirements that we need to listen to. Because they're used to iTunes, they demand very quickly that we add support for the Apple formats, AAC and Apple lossless. Also, with Kinski, we need to support Kinski on Mac. And then, of course, like an earthquake, we get the iPad in the summer of 2010. Within a few months, the iPad becomes and remains the #1 way to control the Lin DS system. Now, with this modern audiophile thinking that we're starting to have and understanding that we are getting and winning new customers, we decide last year, September 2011, most of you were here, to introduce the DSM systems. Simpler, less boxes, easier to use for making anything sound better for the modern audiophile. So we continue with the traditional audiophile products, but we want to address a larger number of modern audiophiles with the DSM systems. And what we say is, the traditional guys we're going to sell to in the listening room of the store, the DEM room, and the modern guys we're going to sell to in the living room. So we begin 1 year ago the process of tailoring the demonstration and the sale to the two different types of customers, understanding two different requirements that they have. And you make the changes over the last year in the front of your stores to cater for these different types of customers at the same time. We make the changes on our website and so forth. And this is a learning journey that we just began 1 year ago. Again, when we move into the living room, that demands some more new features that are really important if you want to be in the living room, like Songcast. Songcast is necessary because for anybody using a laptop or getting content through the internet, through a browser or through a streaming service, Songcast lets them put all that through their LIN system now. What else? What was important for the living room for connecting things up? HDMI, right. And so once again, we grow the addressable market for LIN-DS. And there has been a lot of progress that we can all be very proud of. We are growing this market. Now I'm going to make one more circle. And I'm making it in a different color because it's a little more about the future than what we've done so far. And so I'm going to write up here, what's the product? Kiko, yes. Kiko. One of the things that we've identified with Kiko was, once again, to make it as simple as possible for new customers, we needed to lower the barrier of entry. So here we have, maybe you're not familiar with, is the Songbox server. And what Songbox does is it lets people stream directly their iTunes library. So they don't even need a NAS, they don't need a Twonky or an asset. They can literally just put Songbox onto their PC or Mac, and now they're streaming from Kinski, being able to select their iTunes library. So big simplification. We also introduced the Wizard. Has anybody used the Wizard? Yeah, a few of you have used it. Again, the Wizard is to make the setup and installation process much simpler and much quicker. But once again, it's all about making, as we grow the addressable market, making the proposition simpler to use, easier to install, so taking the install time from hours down to minutes. That's the goal with the Wizard. Features, well, we've got 6 colors at the moment. Yeah, it's very small. It's a system. Why does it matter that it's a system? For the purchase process, right? Again, just to buy the Kiko system, just choose your colour, much less to think about, can be placed in any part of the house and is going to be more acceptable to be in the open areas of the home, like a kitchen or a dining room or a study. So now we have our traditional audiophiles, our modern audiophiles, still the listening room, still the living room, but with Kiko we now add the possibility to sell to every room. To every room in the modern home. So we can see that with Kiko we have widened the appeal and the addressable market. It's really interesting with Kiko because it's been getting us into wider press than any new product that Lynn's launched, certainly in the 9 years that I've been here. We've been in the UK in the Daily Telegraph. That's the most widely read mainstream newspaper, with 750,000 people reading that paper, even in the digital age, still reading the newspaper. They would not touch Climax or Accurate or Magic, but they will review Kiko in the mainstream press. We've been in other newspapers. We've been in consumer tech publications. We've been in lifestyle publications. So what we're seeing is that Kiko opens doors. It's helping us achieve a wider brand awareness. And in fact, at this time at Lynn, we've invested into this PR and brand awareness like never before. We see this opportunity. We've made another huge step forward on our website, which you will see later. We've added all of these features. We've improved our manufacturing processes. We're making a lot of steps at Lynn to address this opportunity. And so that's what today is all about. It's all about asking you guys to make the next steps too, to make your next investment in Lynn. So we're going to show you what we've been doing. But it's clear that Kiko lets us go beyond our existing customer database and find new customers. That's why we made Kiko. You asked us for it last year. It came from the workshop sessions at the end of last year's conference. Kiko exists to get new customers into your shops. Now, of course, you could sell some Kiko systems to some traditional audiophiles, maybe as a second room in their home. But Kiko is all about winning new customers. Kiko exists only to get new customers into your shops. Okay, so Lynn DS, it's clear, has taken us back to the very beginning. It started a new journey. A journey for audiophiles, traditional and modern, in the digital era of streaming. We've shown that by rebuilding the price-performance relationship, we can once again have customers invest in a source product that retrieves more information from the digital stream, just like the LP12 did in 1973 with the analog stream. We're allowing people to improve their hi-fi systems. We've given the traditional hi-fi system a future with a new high-quality source. And customers have been embracing this. With each year that has passed, with each new introduction, we have widened the market, you have widened the market, and we have grown our sales of Lynn DS. And now we're faced with this opportunity of Kiko. Lynn is investing more time, money, effort, and resources into marketing than at any time in its history. we see the potential of this Kiko to attract a new generation of modern audiophiles who want great sound in every room of the modern home. But there is only one place for people to experience the Linn brand, and that's in your shops. And so today, we're presenting our vision for the future of retail and how we attract these new customers into the shops, and we'll be asking you to invest further in Linn. Thank you.